All right. What's up? It's Whiskey Wednesday with Dave. Good to see everybody out there in the Facebook lands and the YouTube lands. That's right, both of them. I'm really excited to say that we are streaming to multiple platforms right now, not just Facebook like we've done in the past, but also some others too. Good to see you. I've already seen people popping in. So good to see you, Ryan. Yes, Slanja to you as well, and Ben too. Woo woo, true, and SN drummer 10, whoever you might be, drummer. That's what I like to hear. Hello to you too. So good to see all y'all out there in the streaming land. For those who don't know me, my name is Dave. I'm the owner and designer behind some of the games of Abe Burson Games, and I'm really excited to have you here tonight. It's actually a pretty exciting night. We've got not just some talking about distilled like we always do, but something even more exciting, I would say, something for the future as well. So first off, I've got a couple little business pieces first. Like I said, we are in both YouTube and Facebook right now. So pick your poison, pick your flavor, whatever works best. I'm going to be posting some comments as they come in. So please do think about posting a comment. One thing I can say is as you are going through here, if you are a Facebook user, there's a chance, especially if you're watching this from the Luthier group or from the Distilled group, there's a chance that when you go to post your comment, it's actually going to be like anonymous. We won't know who it is, which is fine. If you want to make it so that you can actually be seen and we know who you are as far as your name and us calling you out, then please go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. All it does is it tells StreamYard and Facebook that they can talk to each other, but before they can't do that. So that's why. If you're in YouTube or I think on the Abe Burson Games page for Facebook, you're probably fine. So again, just wanted to go through that. And again, keep coming the comments in. Yeah, good to see you too, Patrick. Yeah, I'm really excited for the unboxing. That's coming. That's going to be maybe the dessert or the main course, but we've got a delicious appetizer starting as well. And so with that, let's get into it. I'm working here through some fun stuff with what's called StreamYard, which is this new software I'm using. So I can pop between different little things. And the next one we're going to pop to is Luthier. Now, here's the deal. As many of you know, many of you out there that are watching, we had a fantastic ride, still are, with Distilled. Came up with that a couple years ago, have been working on it, kickstarted it in summer 21. Great feedback and support from all of you out there. But then on top of that, we started thinking about, well, what's going to be next? Because I love this stuff. I love working with the community, all of you so much. And along came, actually, before I was even looking for anything, along came a guy named Abe. And I am so excited tonight to introduce you to Abe, let you get a chance to ask some questions of Abe, but also have us learn a little bit more about the next game coming from Abe Burson Games, which is Luthier. So with no further ado, what I'd like to do now is bring Abe onto the screen. We're going to have a little chat, the two of us. I've got some questions for you, but I'm also hoping that you all have some questions for him too. So please post those in the chat. So let's go. Abe, how you doing?
Awesome. How are you guys? Hey, Dave.
Hey. Oh, a wonderful shirt there. So
Thank you.
I'm preference, but man, I know I remember you're a big Masters of the Universe fan, right?
Yeah.
That's
yes.
awesome. That's awesome. So are you? Had you know anything about the game? Did Simon release it or put it on Kickstarter already? I can't remember what happened there.
So I haven't followed it too closely because I think there was one that was offered US only, one that was offered UK or Europe only.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested in both, but I was more interested in the one in Europe. And so I'm just going to kind of wait it out and see. And then once it's more available, then I'll probably try to find / purchase whatever is available that I'm interested in. But
awesome.
Yeah, that was, and I know this is maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but I'd actually started many years ago just for fun in my own head, a game called Universe Eternal that was going to maybe eventually be a Masters of the Universe kind of game, knowing that I would probably never acquire the IP. And I abandoned that because not going to happen, but I'm glad that there are some games out there that are Masters of the Universe.
Well, it's very much kind of like I love Nemesis, and it's a good example of, not the Alien IP, but using as much as they can. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And Ryan says the models are fantastic. So I'm guessing Ryan's talking about the CMON edition too. And SN Drummer 10 says Abe seems like my kind of guy. Games and a musician, sign me up. So that's awesome. So yeah, let's get into that. So
Yeah.
I guess first, what I always like to do with all of my guests is I want to know what you're drinking. Abe, what are you having tonight for Whiskey Wednesday?
Yeah, so I've got, let's see if I can put it on here. So this is Trader Joe's single malt. I don't know nearly as much as you do about spirits, but this is one I got a couple years ago. You can see it's almost gone now. I use it for special occasions. I'm calling this a special occasion.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm drinking.
Nice. Well, I'm also having a special occasion one. This is my staff from the School of Art and Design. I left for a year to do some other work on campus, and they gave me this delicious bottle of Glenlivet Nadura, and it's a single malt, but 16-year-old, and it's cask strength, which means it packs a wallop.
Yeah.
Which is a fun fact, the name of our mini expansion for Distill, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so we always say Slanja to your health, good health. Slanja va to you, Abe. Slanja. Yeah. Yes. So let's get into it. So can you tell the crew, everyone watching in, we got about, right now, I think we got about 30 people tuning in right now. Can you talk a little bit about, I don't know, who are you? What's your background, hobbies, all that jazz, so people get to know you better?
Yeah. So I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. I'm back in Minnesota after going to school, living in Nashville area for a while post college. I grew up with a little bit of a musical background. My dad is a musician, great piano player. He has a master's in piano pedagogy. That was his main source of income. When I was younger, he played piano and he taught students. And my mom sang along with him sometimes. And yeah, I have a younger sister. And then at some point, I think my parents wanted me to take piano lessons. Like most people, I didn't stick with it that long. And my dad didn't force it on me. He wanted me to do it if I wanted to, and not because he wanted me to. So I didn't go too far with the piano. But in school, I picked up the cello. When you pick an instrument in school, I picked the cello. Then fast forward to kind of high school. My friend Matt was working at the Dairy Queen in town, and there's this local band named Tang, which, total tangent, there's going to be a documentary about the Rochester local music scene coming out in the next year or so.
Nice.
And so Tang was like this thing that was like, wait a second, you can be in a band? Like I didn't think you could actually do that unless you were, I don't know, somebody else. So my friend Matt and I started playing instruments. He got a guitar, electric guitar. So I got a bass guitar. We found some other guys. We formed a band. So I played bass guitar. And then I got into recording. I got interested in that. And at the local community college offered a really good electronic music program. So I got into some electronic music. I like rock, but I also like Depeche Mode and some electronic music and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
And I started learning music theory and electronic music and recording. And I was like, okay, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. So I knew a couple of people that were a little older than I that were kind of going down these different steps. They went from RCC in Rochester to UW Oshkosh in Wisconsin, which had a really good recording program, and then on to Nashville. So I'm like, I'm going to eventually end up in Nashville. So I went to UW Oshkosh. I played in a progressive rock band there, played the bass in that band. I played cello in an experimental band. And I got a little bit better at cello. I was never that serious about it, but I actually had to take private lessons and practice. And I got to maybe an intermediate level on the cello, and not, enough where maybe I could sit like fifth or sixth chair in a small local symphony or something. And I got into the guitar a little bit. I started becoming interested in drums. The band I was practicing, the band would practice in their basement. So like when the drummer wasn't there, it'd be messing around with the drums. Just like all things music, I love listening to music. I love the history of music. Almost like the genealogy, like who is in what band and what collaborations did they do and who wrote that and all that stuff. So that's kind of my background with music. I did lived in Nashville for a while, did a lot of entry level work.
Cool.
Nothing too fancy. I was maybe 1 or 2 degrees from a lot of anybody basically, but I didn't really have like my credits on any records or anything, but just lots of really cool experiences in the industry. Downtown Music Row. Moved back to Minnesota. I did do some audio video work at my church for several years. I was the media coordinator there. I met my wife there, actually. She's musical. She plays guitar, sings, does keyboards. Nice. So we've been actually working on some projects in our, you can kind of see a little bit of our home studio here.
Yeah, I see some guitars back there. Nice.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the overview of, and then of course, so that's the musical side, but games, right? So that's kind of why we're here. And as a kid, I liked, Risk. And I'm trying to think what else. I kind of started to get into that, and then kind of fell off, got, away from that for a while. And Magic the Gathering. So when that came out, 93, I was almost on board right away. 94, I was heavy into Magic the Gathering.
Nice, yeah. For
years, off and on for years. And then, life happens, and I'm interested in music. I'm in school. I'm living life. I get kind of post-college. I'm rooming with my friend Blaine Hogginson. This is now maybe 2005, 2006. And I was telling him, like, I had this idea for this game. I was working seasonal at Games by James, and this idea popped in my head, but I didn't really know what to do. And so that's when I started getting back into the hobby again. We were playing San Juan, is kind of one of my favorites now. And I started getting into like Kalis, Agricola at the time was brand new. And yeah, so that's kind of my overall, I guess, little summary.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome, man. So yeah, I didn't even know that you lived in Nashville for a while. Yep. What a great music journey there. And you're Games by James former employee. That's awesome. Yep. That's awesome. Yep. Well, cool. Well, people, as I'm chatting with Abe, please feel free to post any questions you might have or comments in the comments box, and I can funnel those over to Abe. So you were making music, you were playing games. So clearly, with something like Luthier, which is, of course, a game about crafting musical instruments, that kind of converged two of your interests. Tell us a little bit about how that all came about. Like, what's the history behind Luthier?
Luthier, yeah. So is it okay if I backtrack a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
So, and the reason is that kind of like when I was, junior high, getting into high school, it's like, oh, you can be in a band? Like, who just does that, right? At some point, I was like, oh, you can design a game? Like, who does that?
Yeah.
And I had this, so it's telling you, my friend Blaine, I'm living with him in the Minneapolis area, and mentioned this idea. I had like an element theme game, real loose ideas, nothing concrete. And we just started hashing it out. We come home after work, we'd, grab a beer and put in a pizza in the oven and just start like messing around with different ideas, kind of real-time collaborating. I had we called this game Master of the Elements. Blaine came up with the kind of core mechanism, like a set collecting mechanism, and then we together kind of worked it around there. Had three unique ways to win. And we took it to a design contest. Rio Grande 2009 had a national design contest in like all these different, I think there's maybe 12 or 13 or 14 different spots. And so we brought ours to the Minneapolis area location, and we became a semifinalist in the Rio Grande design contest. And well, we didn't win, didn't get published, but we had an opportunity to go to, I think it's called Chi-Tag in Chicago, meet Jay Tummelson, pitch our game, meet some other people. And it was just kind of a fun experience. And so, here I was like, wow, like this is, this didn't happen, but this could happen. And I have other ideas, right? I mentioned when we talked about my shirt, I was like, oh, He-Man game would be the best, right? But music, right? Music and Euro games. Euro is probably more, like, I know it's a general term, but that's kind of more what I'm into. So I'm like, okay, making an instrument, music, Euro, like that's there's got to be something in there. So I actually took some pieces from existing games I had, and took inspiration from existing games I had. And so I'm taking these discs from Agricola, and I'm looking at Puerto Rico going, okay, you got like these brown and black and neutral colored cubes, and like those are wood pieces, like, right? So like, let's make instruments. Let's do a crafting instrument game. And started just conceptually, maybe writing a few things down on a notepad. I was at the time really inspired by, again, I would say a little bit of Agricola, Kalis, modern art. I love the bidding in that. And so I actually was like, okay, so the bidding part and what you see as people learn more about the game, what became kind of the hidden bidding worker placement combo was originally, I don't like using that word because there's so many iterations, but was earlier on just the bidding portion. So you just had your bidding chips and you're bidding on these different instruments, and I was kind of ripping some stuff off of modern art, like, oh, this is a once around, or this is a hidden bid, or whatever kind of concept. And then I had this, like a worker placement. I'm like, well, it's like basically just a luthier and maybe their assistants. Like, how many workers is that? And so I was trying to like reconcile these things that seem to not mesh, right? So it's like I got like one worker, maybe eventually two, and then bidding. And I started in about 2009 with the concept. I had a functional-ish, I mean, it worked kind of, it wasn't good, but a functional-ish in 2013. Off and on over the years, back burner. I'm, doing other stuff, living life, doing my thing. Fast forward to like 2017, 2018, I'm playing a game of Forbidden Stars with my friend. And it has these like command chips that you place down. And you don't see what they are. And you place them in the different areas, and you resolve them one at a time in kind of reverse order, the top one first, right? And then something clicked. I'm like, wait a second, I can combine the bidding. I already have these chips, and they have numbers on them. And the worker placement. And then that can just be not just for bidding to get the commission, to get that instrument in your workbench, but for every single action out there. And that was where I feel it really started to kind of take shape. And I know it's still taking shape, but where it really kind of came into its own of like, okay, this is something that's going to work. And it's going to be more, because I wanted it, I don't know if elegant's the right word, but I want it to be as unfiddly as possible. So that's like basically, I don't know, that's kind of maybe at least getting up to the functional, level where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to play test it, and then I'm, starting to get it out in the world.
Yeah. So, okay. So fascinating. So 2009 is when you, around then is when you first came up with this concept.
Yeah.
And I love how, and that's, something for people out there that are considering maybe designing a game themselves or never really thought about that. I love how you've taken interests, pieces from different games that you've enjoyed as well. But also, I think most importantly there is you didn't give up. You just kept at it. You kept kind of carving away, whittling away at this until for quite a long time, right? 13 years, basically, right?
Sometimes, what's that movie? Gosh, it's a well-known, popular movie, and I'm blanking on the name. They're in prison, and he's just like slowly scooping away. What is that?
Which
somebody
one?
out there? So
chipping away at the wall. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like scooping out like one spoon at a time. That wall, right, to escape the prison. Now, this wasn't a prison, but sometimes it felt like that, or just that,
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's cool, and I've got some people already starting to talk.
Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, thank you.
There you go. Yeah, a couple did it. I don't know. So I love the Facebook users that keep saying it. So you just saw me go online. If you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can give them permission that I can see who it is that's making these awesome comments throughout. We got a couple of them. One person said, "I'm disappointed that I'm not backing Luthier, but I may have let my Kickstarter enthusiasm get ahead of my paycheck during COVID." Well, I got news for you, Facebook user. It hasn't hit the Kickstarter yet, so you're going to be just fine. We got a ways to go for that. We're still trying to get through Distilled, but so that's good. I've got tons of other questions too, but I've got this one.
Yeah.
Someone asked. Let's diverge real quick.
Okay.
One person said that I see a few guitars on the wall. Do you have a personal favorite?
Oh, that's a great question. Wow. So my wife and I both play a little guitar. We're not fancy, but we like to play just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
See, what can you see there? We have several guitars. We've got a couple good ones, and the rest are just like so.
Yeah.
My favorite one to play, I think, if you can see, kind of right above my cap there. Yeah. So there's a Fender with a natural color on the wall with a white pick guard.
Yep.
That was my Uncle Paul. So my Uncle Paul is a musician. He passed away of Lewy body disease several years ago. And that was something I inherited from him. He played in the Wisconsin. He was from Illinois. He played in the Wisconsin, Illinois area in a couple, not nationally known bands, but he kind of toured a little bit. And that was his guitar. So to me, that's probably, a sentimental one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Fender next to it, I actually just got my wife for our anniversary. That's her Fender.
Oh, nice.
And then you can see we got the good Taylor acoustic there. And then the speakers actually behind me I built in 2007.
Wow.
Because I love music and I love listening to music, and
Wow.
transducers are where it's at. Microphones and speakers. That's like, if you have good microphones and good speakers and you're in a good acoustic environment, you can go a long way.
Nice. Oh, cool. And Allie says, love learning more about this game. Super interesting. Thanks for sharing with us and the world. I've heard from many that it will be really bad before it ever gets good. You're totally right. You've got a long way to go through something before you can really kind of step away from that and see what you've accomplished and be satisfied with that. And I would argue that sometimes that game is never done. So the problem is you've just got to decide when it is.
Right. I thought it was done in 2013. It's still not done.
Yeah, there you go. Well, actually, so speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about, at a certain point, did you decide I want to create this for to pitch to publishers? Maybe talk about the last couple years worth of your experience with Luthier.
Yeah, I didn't initially intend on pitching it to publishers. I initially intended on making a game to make a game and have fun with it, and make my own copy. And similar with like some of the music projects I've done, like back in the day, maybe I burned off 20 CDs or whatever. So it was more just a labor of love project initially. But then in about 2017, when I saw the potential, when I had been, I haven't studied Lutherie or some of the history near as much as you. I'll give you credit for that. You just dove in with that. But I was kind of a fan of games. So I'm like watching the Dice Tower and I'm reading stuff on Board Game Geek and I'm trying to keep up with what's going on. And I'm like, you know what? This game can be up there. This game can be, on the shelf with some of these other games that I like. I may or may not be able to take it there on my own, but I can get it pretty close. So as far as pitching, I think about 2018, I really started getting more into just getting more playtesting going, at least with some friends or acquaintances. And I was getting some decent feedback, and I was feeling pretty good about it. So so kind of sidestep, I thought about maybe Stonemaier, right? So Viticulture, right? I think that was his first game, Jeremy Stegmaier's first game. I intentionally did not learn much about that game until 2017, 2018, because I didn't want it to be too close to that. Like, I didn't know, and it isn't, but I just was like, wow, this is a successful game. There could be some overlap in approach to the design, and I didn't want to at all be like that. But I liked what he did as a business person, and I was like, man, maybe I should pitch it to Stonemaier. And early on, that didn't seem like too much of a stretch. Now, like, they're massive, right? But so I was thinking about that, and I'm like reading what he says about like what to do with game design, and here's my 10 suggestions and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like trying to like make it fit in that, and I couldn't quite make it fit in that. But I was like, well, I can maybe come close and I can, take it to this design day that he's got, right? So I went to the 2019 design day, signed up for that, made the drive from Minnesota, St. Louis, stopped in Iowa to visit my wife's friend on the way, left the one prototype in Iowa, got like an hour out. And I'm like,
the reason I'm going down here.
Yeah. Like, what? So she called her friend and we met halfway back and picked up the game and went on our way.
That's funny.
Oh man. So we get to St. Louis and great thing. I think it's called Pieces Cafe. And I don't know Jamie. I mean, I briefly met him, but really nice guy, really good host. And really cool event. And so I went there, tested a couple games, had some people test my game, and overall pretty good reception. A few things like, you might want to, tweak this or look at this. Got some great advice from Matt O'Malley. I think I told you that. He's co-designs with Ben Rossett, who I think you said you've met.
Yep.
And
so Brew Crafters and between
Planet X maybe. Yeah.
Yep.
So I got some good feedback and was like, okay, I'm going to keep going with this. So then, and I'll maybe tee this back to you. Like, then I was like, okay, I'm going, like, I live in Minnesota. I'm going to Proto Spiel, Minnesota, 2020.
Yep. And so you show up at Proto Spiel, Minnesota 2020 with Luthier. I show up with Distilled for the very first ever playtest outside of my friends. Public play test. We play test each other's games, right?
Yeah.
I still remember play testing yours and thinking like, oh, there's some overlap between Distilled, resources and crafting.
Yeah, kind of big picture genre wise. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember we've got pictures of each other. I think if you go online onto the Papers and Games site, you'll see a picture. We play tested each other's games, and then we went on our merry way. Then the pandemic hit shortly thereafter. But
that was right before the pandemic.
Yeah, it was. That was January, and then it hit, February, March. And I, got sucked into online world of play testing and moving Distilled forward. But you and I kept in touch. Like we play tested each other's games a couple times. I remember that. But yeah, it wasn't until then this year at the start of Erik was finishing up the artwork. We were finishing up like all the rules and final stuff to really pretty much send Distilled to the factory or start that process. And I realized I need to start thinking about, what's the next title. And I don't know, I couldn't get Luthier out of my, like every couple months it would pop up like, oh yeah, Luthier. Like I really like that mechanism. And I remember thinking like, I really like it, but I was also frustrated by some things. I want to be able to fix that.
But telling me, like, I get it.
Yeah, no, totally. And so, I just remember reaching out to you and you sent us some pitch stuff. And I think Richard and I together play tested or watched you observe to play test. Maybe I can't remember. And then, the rest is history. We decided to sign on and I'm just so excited. It's just it's been an exciting ride and it's just really beginning, for us. For you, I guess that's the last question. Since I know we're running up against time here.
Sure.
And if anyone else has questions, please post them. What would you say is maybe the thing you're most excited for about the future of Luthier?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all of it, just it's alive, right? It's gonna be out in the world. So, probably like just seeing it on the shelf in my local game store, knowing that people can play it. Like it's gonna be out there, right? I think that's just something about when you're a creative person and you like to make things or have projects or whatever, and when you can just have that creation and it's like tangible, that's when it's gonna be like, yeah,
it's pretty cool. That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, hey, thanks so much, Abe, for taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
This is fun. I hope everyone's had a good time getting to know Abe. Again, we're talking about Luthier. Luthier is going to be the next game coming out from Papers and Games. And Abe's been working on this for quite a long time. And we've been excited over the last couple months. We've been kind of taking it to a new level that we're even more excited about. And we're also starting to do some play testing too. So one thing I want to mention really quick is that we have actually started play testing on our Discord server. I should have had something ready to put the Discord server on here, but you're going to be able to find that pretty easily if you search for it. The Paverson Games Discord server. We're playtesting the current prototype version of Luthier in Tabletop Simulator once or twice a week now. So if you are interested in kind of being in on that ground floor, please make sure to follow us along and join the Discord server. You'll be able to contribute. Not only will you be able to play and see what this is like, I know we've been talking a lot about it, and hopefully soon you're going to be able to see it too, but you're also going to be able to contribute to its development. And you're also going to even be able to if you do this, you'll fill out a survey, and then you're going to be credited as a playtester in the rules. So that's a really important part of this process too, is recognizing that it's not just 1 or 2 or 3 people that are working on this project. It's a much larger group that brings this all together. So yeah, and real quick, Stuart asked, will Luthier be all about guitars or also have other stringed instruments like violins, cellos, lutes, etc.? Good question. Actually, it will have even more than that, Stuart. Yes, it will, of course, have those stringed instruments, but actually it's going to be investigating more than just stringed instruments. You'll be taking it even beyond that into brass and woodwinds, and even percussion and keyboard. So it's the gamut, really set more in a former time in Europe with classical music, Baroque, Romantic. So really some exciting stuff, looking at patrons. So the theme is really strong. The mechanics that Abe has developed is really strong. We're really excited to introduce this to all of you. So again, do be sure to think about joining the Discord server. So if you want to participate, and you need a Tabletop Simulator to do this, but in the future, we're going to start doing in-person play tests. So for instance, actually the next couple of weeks, this is one of my tasks, is to start building out a printed version. I'm going to be at Protospiel in Madison in early December. Protospiel is something where designers come together. We were just talking about it, come together with their games, and they play each other's games. But Protospiel is open to the public as well. So if you're someone that's interested in playing prototype games before they're out, so they're rough, they're raw, sometimes they don't even work. Sometimes they do, like ours, where we're still trying to just refine balance as opposed to things a break. If you're interested in that, just search Protospiel Madison, and you can attend. And it's really cheap to attend as a player, because we want those players to be there to play. So that's an option in early December in Madison. Abe and I are also going to be, is it in January, Abe?
Yep.
Well, we're going to be at Protospiel, Minnesota in January, and that's in Bloomington. And then when's Con of the North? Is that
February? It's
February.
Like February 17th-ish, that weekend.
So February. So basically there's 3 chances to catch Luthier as a playtester. Madison in December, Minnesota in January, and again Minnesota in February. Con of the North is a game playing con, so there's lots of other stuff to do there too beyond prototypes. And Allie, yes, in person in Minnesota. All of them are in person. Wisconsin in person, Minnesota in person. So Madison in December, Bloomington in January, and I think it's the west side of the cities at Con of the North in February. So again, and Christian, KublaCon, we always get asked about KublaCon. Maybe sometime. It's hard to get out there just because it's in California, but we'll see. You never know. So anyway, that's it. We want to keep moving on. I know some people are excited also about the unboxing, but hopefully you're excited about Luthier too. I know I am. And keep an eye on Luthier's Facebook group as well as the Paverson Games Facebook page for news and announcements about Luthier as well. So thanks again, Abe, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night, all right?
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, so that was Luthier with Abe. That was exciting. I hope you all had a good time, learn a little bit more about Abe. But of course, now it's time to move on to the other game, which is Distilled. Now, before we dive into that, we're going to take a quick break because I need to readjust some of my cameras and reset things. So we're going to be just slapping up the logo here. This is going to be like 1 minute, so no worries on time, but we'll see you in just a second. All right. I think. Oh no, it's still echoing. Gosh darn it! It's still happening, but that's okay. We can keep going. Entertain them, Erik.
I don't really sing or do stand up. I don't have a tight 10 minutes.
That still did it, didn't it?
Still echoing.
I wasn't doing it before. Let's try
This.
Now?
This is the content everyone came here for.
Yes. There. Boom.
All right.
Boom. Here it is. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How you doing, dude?
Remember when we didn't do these? I've been on this a couple times.
Nice T-shirt.
It's
Nice.
like we shop at the same store.
Awesome. Okay, here we are. So, hey everybody. I hope everyone. Oh my gosh, we've got 20 new comments out there. So good Lord. Oh yeah, there's so many people. That's right, Graham. Time for the main event. We had some delicious appetizers, and I don't know if this is the main course or if this is the dessert. Who knows?
It's probably like the soup course.
We've got someone. I don't know, Facebook user. I bet that's probably, who knows if that's Corey or someone else. You need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and enter your name because someone's asking Erik to regale us with your acting skills.
I did just come from a rehearsal for a play about Pride and Prejudice, which is funny because that was the first board game I ever made. It was a board game about Pride and Prejudice.
I wanted to be sure to ask you about this. So, okay, so let's tell everyone so what is this? Because during Distilled, you were in you in Dracula during Distilled?
No. It was prior.
Clue, something else.
Black Friday. I was in A Christmas Carol.
That's right. You read. You were a reader.
And Puffs.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, you were
plays.
Man. Yeah, you were busy. But now, what is it now? What are you in?
One play. I'm in one play. It's called Miss Bennett Christmas at Pemberley. And if anyone lives in Menominee, Wisconsin, it's going to be at the Maple Tainter Theater the first 2 weekends in December. I will be playing Mr. Darcy.
Oh, which is great because what is the first game that you illustrated in graphic design?
First game I illustrated was marrying Mr. Darcy.
So this is marrying Erik Evensen.
Yep. And now it's come full circle from my AP English class where I could barely get through Pride and Prejudice, and now I'm Mr. Darcy on stage.
Oh man! Oh my gosh! Oh wow! That's funny.
Yep.
Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Daniel says he wishes he was back in Menominee to see it. Daniel, I hope you're still doing some theater with lighting or sound and stuff. I think you went to grad school for that. I'm pretty sure. Daniel's awesome. We've got a super fan. We've got a super fan. Oh my, it's so hot, Mr. Darcy. Woo.
That's game designer Erik Evensen.
That's right. That created Mr. Darcy.
Happens to be my wife.
Okay, it is.
Hey,
so that's awesome.
You gotta hit me with
Oh yeah, we gotta hit you up. Okay, so I've still got some left over, so I've got to finish this. I picked this one out. Actually, you can choose. So it's it's Whiskey Wednesday. So people saw earlier I had the Glenlivet, so Nadura, delicious cast strength stuff. Here's another one. So Erik, this is the one when we signed. I think we've had this twice now to celebrate. When we signed the contract to do Distilled, and then also I think. I don't know when we kickstart. I don't know when we had this some other time too.
Okay,
I'm not
sounds
sure.
Great.
So this is from the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Yeah.
This is from Isla Cantina Mexicana, which is during their festival on the island. Each distillery comes out with their own dram. So this is somewhat peated. That's not. What would you like?
I'd prefer a little less peated, but whatever.
Less all right, that's good.
Whatever we do.
That's good. So let's hit you up with some of this. And then I'll get to finish mine, and I'll have the other one probably. All right, Slanja.
Oh yeah, Slanja
over there. Post what you're drinking too, everybody. Whatever that might be, if you're having something too. And so yeah, let's get to the main event here. Why you're all tuning in probably is because I'm very excited. We are going to be unboxing the Distilled factory sample. So I'm really excited about this. And I see Ryan says, is anyone else getting better than 144 quality? I hope so. Sorry about that, Ryan. So I hope that's not my junky internet. I'm not sure. But Stuart, great peated single malt there that you're drinking. Slanja. Someone else is having some hot water, lots of water. Oh, 3 water drinkers, lots of water.
It is a Wednesday.
Oh my, this distillery in Quebec says can't share pictures to show what we're drinking. Oh, right. Oh, I don't know what that means, but that's cool. Oh, look at all these people. Oh, some Aaron from Grand. So from Graham. So awesome stuff. This just keeps coming. I just need to do all this. That's right. I may just think that all unboxing videos should have drinks in hand. I would agree with that. Balvenie 12 from Benjamin. Derringer by Rabbit Hole. Sprecker's Cream Soda. I can't even keep up with these comments. On call tonight. That's okay. I love Sprecker's. That's a Wisconsin thing, right? Is Sprecker's Wisconsin?
It sounds like it ought to be.
I'm almost positive it is. All right, we got to stop with all the drinking stuff. And someone asked about the Wally print. That is signed. It's actually signed by Pete Doctor. Yeah.
I don't think I ever asked you about that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It was actually a Reddit Secret Santa I got it from. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, I want to do a couple quick updates before we get to the main event. Yes, we are going to unbox here in just a little bit, people. So just hold your knickers, and we're getting there. Thanks to everybody that came out and supported at Game Hall Con. It was a lot of fun. We played the game a handful of times. Thanks to Houston and Levi for helping run those games. We had just a great turnout. Some people pre-ordered. You can pre-order the game for just a little bit longer, like another day online. So if you order, go on the Distilled site, you can still pre-order the game. So keep that in mind. We are also looking at doing a release party for all our local pickuppers and other fans in the area. So if you're in the Twin Cities or Menominee area, hopefully in the early year, we're going to have some fun release party to do as well. So that's exciting. And also the Cask Strength mini expansion is thanks to Richard. Richard Woods designed the mini expansion. We've been play testing it. It's really looking good. So we're really excited to start moving forward with that. It adds, like, for instance, this is a Cask Strength whiskey. It's a higher alcohol content. It adds more complexity and weight to the game, which is what Cask Strength does. So that we decided to name it that. So more on that later, but let's get to the main event. So let's see if I can do this here. What we wanted to do, and Eric and I wanted to make sure that both of us were here, that we're going to just take some time to show you, especially all you Kickstarter backers out there, especially you, but anyone really will be able to get most of this. We want to show you what you're going to be getting in the mail when that time comes, which hopefully will be January-ish. We'll see. So I wanted to start with just, let's see if I can get this on. Okay, there we go. So you can see, well, that's even further than I thought. That's okay, though. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see if that's good. We don't even need this. I had these stickers out because I didn't want to go over it, but I think we're okay there. Okay. So this is going to be where we can do it, and I'll try and hold things up as well as we go. Let's see if we can go back. There?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Sure. I don't know. You do this a lot more than I do.
Whoa. I had it all set up and it was all perfect, and now it's all, of course, wonky. But let me just do one more thing. I know what I'm doing here. I know. Maybe. Where are you? There. Sorry, everybody. We're almost there. There it is. We just want to be able to have you see it as much as possible.
We need to hire a grip.
I know. Yeah. I wish we knew a video production program. Oh, wait. Okay. So what I'll do is let's see, we'll make this small. So this is big. So you can still see us on there, but you can see a little bit. You can pull those off too.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to make it so we wouldn't get off screen. Or is it? Oh, it's my side.
Oh, it's your side, yeah. These unsightly pieces of blue tape.
Okay, so what we're going to do is first what we thought we'd do is just pull out some of the, I don't know if you want to do the honors here, Eric.
Sure, where do we
pass them over here?
Okay.
We're going to talk about some of the things you're going to get if you were any backer at all. Is going to maybe start with that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So this is what it's going to look like when it comes in your package. So in the package, and you can kind of probably hold it up a little higher.
I probably can.
Let me turn these down. That's right.
So this is the first player token.
That's right.
I'm going to pop it open. This thing is exquisite, in all honesty. It is dense. It's metallic. It's beautiful. It's really, like quite the token. Am I
Mhm.
holding this in the right? Oh,
You're good.
yeah, I'm overshooting it a little bit.
You're
Yeah.
good.
It's got a great weight. It's got a great tactile feel. And for me, the best part of it is that I painted every part of this thing. All of this wood grain, all of these little lines and divots are manually painted with Clip Studio Paint, except for the D, which was applied in Photoshop, and the text that says Slanjava on the back, and the like sort of Victorian filigree. But
Yeah.
yes, it's, I don't know. It's quite the,
It is.
it's quite the thing.
It's hefty. When people pick it up, they have not had a coin this big, this heavy before. So it's pretty exciting to do.
That is going to break someone's
Yeah,
table.
Benjamin says-
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. So this is only for Kickstarter backers. So if you're a Kickstarter backer, regardless of what tier, you're going to get one of these. This replaces a cardboard version you'll see in a second.
Yeah.
In the game. So it's pretty fun stuff. So cool. There's that.
Yeah.
Now I've got a as Eric's opening this next thing.
These
I
nice.
just want to let you know. Yeah, sure. It could be a long night here because Eric's probably just going to talk about how he made the work on everything because he did. Because he did. Everything you see is pretty amazing artistic and in certain cases graphic design effort as well. So yeah, this one.
These are your coasters. So these are for backers. Each one is flippable. So there's a different spirit label on either side, and they are pretty charming. They are a lot like exactly what you'd find in a bar.
Yeah,
but perhaps in a
show them the whiskey one.
Oh yeah, the whiskey one. So I mean, they're all the ones you've come to know and love from the game. But we'll skip to whiskey because on one side we have whiskey, but on the other side we have whiskey. So for all of you more pedantic folks out there, I guess, who prefer the E-list spelling over the E spelling, I have a lot of E's in my name. I always prefer inserting E's myself, but I'm also an American. So yeah, you can have your cake and eat it too.
That's right. So with those, that's going to come with if you order the signature blend, you're going to get the coin, but then you're also going to get these coasters. And then also, why don't you bring up the coins?
Yeah.
The other thing you're going to get is the metal coins. And these are pretty hefty. Yes, that is right. These are free as part of your signature blend backer pledge and can replace the cardboard coin, obviously the punch-out coins in the game. Let's dump those suckers out. Yeah, so lots of coins to choose from.
As you can tell, when we drop it on the table, it sounds like pirate treasure hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like Spanish galleons and doubloons and whatnot.
And you'll notice that each one has, whether it's grains, plants, or fruits, the different tiers of resources in the game and the sugars. But then also, of course, they're serving that purpose of coinage as well. So these are very three-dimensional, and they're really exciting to see these and to play with these. We played with these at Game HoleCon, and people absolutely love these coins. So you'll be able to have those as well.
I am really interested to know if you could use these in a parking meter.
Legal tender, not legal. I had to actually say on it, it says not legal tender because I have to when we're importing this stuff. So again, let's say you are saying, oh my gosh, I wish I would have backed this game so I could have gotten the signature one with these coins. Don't worry, this stuff is going to be available at cons as well as online later, so you'll be able to order those later. Well, Eric's picking those up. I'll just show these quickly.
Yeah,
we won't get them all out, but the other thing that some of you got was the recipe cubes, the metal recipe cubes. So these are pretty standard, but it's worth maybe just showing very quickly. These cubes, I won't get them out of the bag, but these cubes are very heavy and are metal and replace the bronze, silver, and gold tier cubes in the game. So again, this was an add-on if you did this. Some of you might have done that. And this is a good example of, again, something that if you didn't, you're going to still be able to get these from us next year. So do not worry, do not fret if you want to have that full deluxe all-in package. And the last thing that was an add-on as well is this play mat. It'll come in this. I've shown this as well before, but we'll just pull it out and roll it out really quick. This play mat is totally optional in the game, but what this does is this allows you to essentially have a place to put your cards. So the stacks of cards face down, and then the face-up cards in the market. And then Erik's designed it in a way that has a little loading dock that says, load it onto the truck after that.
Yeah, the truck gets parked here. Cards shuffle off there.
It's pretty cool. So nice neoprene mat. It's sewn on the edges. So a really nice quality mat. Great artwork illustrated by Erik Custom. Remember, this was something that was an unlock from the campaign when we got this as well. So exciting stuff. All right.
It's pretty fun to do too.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I'm sorry. And the shot glass, really quick.
Oh yeah.
I'll just pull it out quickly. With the shot glass, it will come in this plastic wrap. These are great. If you haven't seen online on our YouTube channel, you can see them making these by hand. Each one screen printed by hand, but the D on one side and Paverson Games on the other. So, yeah. All right. Let's throw that off to the side.
And that's just the stuff that's not in the
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, Dan, nice to see you, Dan. Yeah, gotta love a nice playing mat. That's for sure. Dan, I want to know what you're drinking. Dan writes this amazing blog with Tabletop Tipples that all about pairing spirits with games as well. So it's pretty exciting stuff. All right. So on to the main event. So here we go. We are going to be unboxing Distilled. So here we go. Oh, look, it's not Distilled. That's Blood Rage. That's such a big box. It's so big. Why would I put that? Oh, because Distilled is the exact same size as Blood Rage. That's right, folks. It's not just a typical normal size game. Distilled is actually literally the exact same size as Blood Rage, which comes with tons of minis. So the thickness, as far as the height of Distilled, it's bigger than Tapestry. It's a very, very big game, which is pretty exciting stuff. I just thought I'd pull that out just for those that are gamers to see the size of this. This has gotten a lot bigger than we thought. So Erik, take us through. I'll kind of model it while you're talking about maybe the fronts and the sides.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing, this is not in shrink anymore, obviously, because we had to open it up and go through it and make sure everything was on the up and up, and it is. But on the front, we have our cover art, but we have this beautiful aqueous coating or spot UV coating, I guess, on the front of the box, right there on the nameplate, I guess is what you would call it. It looks great.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
We knew we wanted to do it, and it adds an extra level of something quality, I guess.
It does.
And it gives you a tactile experience when you run your fingers over it. So that's there on the sides and the edges. We've got some art on either side. Each side of the box is actually different. So some of them have the Paverson logo and they have the Distill logo. They might have the various details of the game. And then this one's pretty interesting. This one's got this one is meant for those of you who like to store your games and see stuff vertically. So it you might have a little gallery wall and that kind of thing. And then on one side it's just Distilled.
Yeah, just nice and big.
In case you keep your game on the top shelf and need to read
that's right.
What the box says.
Nice and simple. Yeah. And real quick, Stuart asked, can the African Middle East expansion fit in the base game box? Yes, it can, Stuart. And you might ask, can it sleeved? Yes, it can, Stuart. That's right. We're looking out for our sleevers too. So not only can the expansion fit, but also the entire thing can fit sleeved as well. This
was a big thing.
This is a big thing
to deal with.
Yeah, it was. All right. So would you like to do the honors, sir?
I do. Yeah. All
right. So here we go.
Come on.
It's tight.
I'm squeezing it too.
There you go.
All right. The inside of the box is pretty normal.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are. So we, and I'll kind of hold this up a little bit high. At the very top, you're going to be greeted by just a simple piece of paper that Erik designed that essentially just says, hey, don't throw out your punch boards that you're used. Put them at the bottom of this box so it lifts it up to make it flush.
You can shore up your... Shore it up a little bit.
We also did a quick game trays blow up so that you can basically put this back in a proper order, just so that you're not confused with that as well. So that's on the back of this sheet that you get out at the very beginning. All right.
And then we have, before you even get to the instruction manual, you get the first taste. So the people who've play tested this and everything kind of know all about the first taste. It's sort of our walkthrough of the game, guiding you through like a simplified or more streamlined first round of the game, I guess.
Mhm.
And so, that's in there. It's sort of like I don't know, not quite an instruction book. This kind of breaks the mold a little bit too.
Yeah, there's a few games that do this and do it well. We decided that we wanted to have something for those that just are not used to heavier games and medium weight games,
Right.
To help them. So we basically hold their hand.
How does this actually work?
Yeah, so basically, it sits around the table and people read it.
Yep.
And then they follow along. So it's almost like a pre-made tutorial for the first round only, and then you get that.
You should be able to figure it out after the first round.
Yeah, hopefully.
Then the instructions. The rule book. I spent a lot of time on this rule book, I have to say. I mean, it is basically, I used to be a magazine designer, publication designer, and this was basically the same as designing a magazine, except with fewer ads. But if we flip it open, you can kind of see.
Yeah, so
it doesn't even
fit
in
it's
frame.
So big. How many pages? Remember?
Oh man, I don't know, 20 something. I mean, 24. That's it. So it's the length of a standard comic book.
Yep. And Eric, I love this part. Eric did this kind of layout like it's sitting on a table. You see some glasses of whiskey over here. So great way to show how the setup works as well.
Some napkins.
Yeah. So lots of visuals, as you can see. We really wanted to make sure. I can't stand rule books that are just all words.
Yeah. Neither can I. We're visual learners here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good example of really trying to show with examples as well. Eric's done a great job of saying anywhere that's a darker color in the background, those are examples sections. The rule book material is a nice textured linen as well. So that's exciting. And then some of my favorite.
It's not waterproof, but I bet if you spilled a little whiskey on it would be
exactly.
Okay.
And then this is the back of the rule book has some fun stuff like this. Basically shows you if you go with a certain tasting flight, which distillers you should play with. Which is fun. But then probably my favorite page is this, because what this does is it teaches you about each of the spirits. So it teaches you how to pronounce them. It teaches you a little bit about the history behind them as well. And again, this was us also working with Blake Tucker out there, who is a mixologist, Dr. Inkwell. And then at the end of the rule book is the solo mode as well for instructions with contents in the back. And a shout out to Cody Reimer as well. So Richard, of course, worked hard on this rule book. Eric did the visuals, and then Cody Reimer
had
really
the hardest
came in.
job.
He had all the editing jobs as well. So really fantastic job, not just on the rules, but the whole game. So really awesome job. The whole team. It's pretty amazing how everyone all came together on that. So that's the rules, and then we've got 5 different tiers of punch out that we, as you can see, we haven't punched out yet. So there's that the coin that Eric was showing you earlier. This is the cardboard version as well as the cardboard version. I'll punch one of these to show you. I know. Look what I've done.
Broke the seal.
There we go. So the cardboard version of that, really high quality, some linen finish on those as well. So that's the first one. And yeah, thanks Christian as well for that comment too. I agree. I think it's really important. Eric's done an amazing job with the layout, and it's just I think it's important, even though it takes a little extra time, to have that experience that is kind of a 5-star top shelf experience throughout the process. So thanks for noticing that, Christian. Appreciate it.
It is also a pet peeve of mine when people just phone in the rule books.
Yeah, totally.
Because I don't know, I need the rule book. And
remember when I was like, this is gonna go down as one of the greatest rule books, and you're like, whatever. And
Dave, don't put that kind of pressure on me, man.
And then I showed you some examples of rule books. You're like, okay,
yeah, I think I can do that. That seems achievable now.
So the Spirit Awards too. So these punch out. This one's the Master Distiller. It's a fun little token. If you are the winner, you get to put this by and take a picture, a little social media.
It's a blue ribbon.
Exactly.
It's like at the state fair.
Yeah. I'll just put that back later. And then each Spirit Award, of course, has a different one. You put these out players +1 when you're playing the game to compete for all these together, kind of global awards. So we've got a couple of these.
Sure. Just stack them up over here.
Yeah. Here's another one, same thing. So you'll punch that out too. This is a piece de resistance, in my opinion. Here's all the different labels that Eric illustrated and also laid out with graphic design, and including, of course, if we get close, some of these are very unique because each of these is something that might represent a specific distiller as well. And then the backs of those are the same except for whiskey, and also the backs of the signatures too. And these, I think I'm glad we were pleasantly surprised that it didn't feel too small. We were a little worried about these being a little too small.
I think I made them exactly as small as we could manage without being too small.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would agree.
It's a tough line to walk.
Yeah. And you're right. And it was something where we could play test it, but also until we see it in the real version, it's tough to see that. And then you can see too, those are when we pass 50 and 100, we get those as well. Okay, so we haven't been looking at any sort of trays yet, but we're going to get to that in just a second. Oh, look at that. Christian says, I have hundreds of games in my collection. I can tell you your rulebook will be among the best. Well done. Trust me, it's noticed and appreciated.
Thank you.
Maybe there's like an Oscar ceremony for like, and the best rulebook design goes to
you know there's not.
I know, but I'd like to dream. And yeah, I agree. SN Drummer, the clarity is pretty impressive too on that. So kudos to Erik for working large and small. Right, he's got a design for both of those. Okay, so what we see here is the first tier. There's actually it's a 5-tray system for game trays. 3 tiers, 5 trays. So the first tier is essentially your typical clear tray. I'll lift it up in a second. And this is going to hold the 5 different distillery player boards that are just exquisite. These are the ones that are each is custom illustrated by Erik with a different still. So, but then also this is my favorite. And why is it my favorite? Because it's got my kitty on it. There's one. Actually, I can fit both of them in there. Both kitties on there.
Should get Gert.
Yeah, Gert and Sylv. So both all the core team got to submit their pets, and they're featured in each of these. So you'll get a fun time looking for those. So each one is different, and some of it, of course, is the same because it's gameplay. But also, Erik's done a great job of creating these different stills. Again, part of the Kickstarter that was.
Yeah, each distillery board gets its own still set up. Like there's one that's. There's a moonshiner one at some point. This one's mine. That's my cat, Luna.
Nice. Oh, Luna. There's a classic pot still. That's what we started with. A nice coffee still as well, an old style coffee still.
Yeah.
And then the 5th player. So remember, this plays 5 players. Is a column still. So I forgot to mention. You want to bring one back real quick? We've also designed it so you know your player color. So white. There's blue. We can see hints of that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, they're not entirely blue and white, but there's the color. They're color coded for sure. And on the back of these,
nice wood grain.
Which is sort of our backs for a lot
of
items.
That's our go-to for our backs.
Go-to backs.
Yeah. So then what you'd see a lot of empty space because once you punch things out, here's where the spirit labels would go. Here's where a barrel will go. We'll see in a second. But you also see a couple other things like the truck Erik designed that is essentially the discard pile for the 3. My favorite part about the truck. See that, people? See that when you flip it over? Those are the little things that I love about this game and what Erik's done with it. So
you want to vroom vroom it around.
So this is the discard for that. And then this is a pretty big beast. This is the basic market, and it's pretty long. This is where you place your face-up stacks of different. Oh, I'm putting that wrong way. Face-up stacks of different of your sugars and barrels in the basic market as well. So again, just folded with wood grain back on that. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna stick with this quote. Graham says, "I hope the game isn't too beautiful to play."
No promises, Graham.
Yeah. Benjamin says most companies don't even bother with the back or the bottom, so that's dedicated. That's right. Okay, so then the last thing you'll do is you'll get a stack of these dual layered recipe clipboards. So again, as a reminder, we'll bring these back in a second, but each of the players will set this next to their distillery player board. This will be played with a tasting flight that has the different recipes, and they'll put the different cubes there to unlock it when they've learned how to make a certain recipe. And then they also will have a signature recipe at the bottom as well that aligns with their distiller that they're playing as.
These were a feat of engineering, and we tested them out, the final product. I mean, we tested them anyway, but we tested out the final product with cubes, metal and wood, with the recipe cards tasting flights in the side, and various other things, and it's satisfying.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Dave's not tooting his own horn on it because he basically did the engineering work on this.
Yeah,
I just did the graphics, but they are cool, and they look like a clipboard. And on the back, another wood grain with the Paverson logo.
That's right. So that's the first tier, and you can see there that you've got a spot to put the different Spirit Awards. This is where you'll put your first player token. This is where you'll put your barrel, and then everything else you saw already goes in there.
And the game trays logo.
Game trays. So here's probably the piece de resistance that makes it game trays. You're going to be met with 3 empty trays that you're going to fill. 2 of those are identical, and they have the distilled D on them. They're barrel shaped, and they can be filled with cubes and coins. It could be a mixture if you so choose. It could be half and half. Yeah. That's up to you.
Yeah. Are you lawful good? Are you chaotic evil?
Yeah, exactly. So those are nice trays. And then this will be what organizes every single label. So we saw those labels before where we had the different whiskey, by Joe, signature ingredients, all that. All of that will fit here, as well as the player pieces. I'll just pull this off.
Yeah.
As well as the player pieces will go here in the middle too. So this is going to fit not only the base game, but the African Middle East expansion and the Kickstarter expansion as well.
It's ridged.
Yep, it's ridged. It's ridged so that, where's it? Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if you can see it's angled.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe there.
Again, very satisfying.
Yeah, angled so it kind of leans back as you're laying. Now, you won't need this out all game because you'll really just need to take the ones that you're playing with and pull it out. But that will hopefully help set up and tear down, make it a lot easier. And then, again, a nice barrel image on the top, too. And this is another one where, although Game Trays designed it, I'm happy to say I'm the one that really pushed for this. I came up with the design. My background's sculpture and 3D modeling, so I love this kind of stuff as well with games.
Get to flex those muscles a couple of times.
Exactly. This is the last piece of illustrated board that Erik did that, again, is just gorgeous. This is the point and round board.
Yeah.
And so this is where you'd move your player marker around. You'd put your stacks of your spirit labels on top and then move the barrel down to track the rounds as well. So another gorgeous illustration here. Hold that up.
Yeah, I'll hold it up.
See some of those.
This one, I mean, I don't know. I like looking at my own work. I very often, I don't know if anyone out there is also some kind of art person, but it's very common to make something and then hate it within a month, 2 months or whatever. You're just like, I know what I would do differently now. So far, not so with Distilled. I still look at it and I really love it. So I don't know. I'm just telling you all how pleased I am with myself, I guess.
It's
that's very helpful.
Pretty awesome.
But that board is a good example. I think it came out great.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, so then what you see at the bottom here, this is what you're going to be met with. These will be, of course, in shrink, but I wanted to keep them exactly as you'd find them. So this, you'll open the game, and this is what it will look like, just shrink. So 4 big stacks in shrink and 1 mini card stack in shrink that you'll open up. And then we've got our recipe cubes that are metallic. They're wood, but they're metallic. So you can't really see it in the camera, but they've got a sheen to them. They're like glittery almost, which is cool.
Yeah, like a metal flake in your car paint.
Yeah. That's good. Yes, exactly. You've got the different screen printed, double-sided player tokens. So these match up with your distillery. So what you see as a still and color on your distillery is the same here. And then just a little wooden barrel. That's the round tracker, brown wooden barrel. Now, so a couple things. Again, this would all be in shrink. We've got player aids, 5 player aids that are double-sided, talking about the game as well as end game scoring and icon reference. Again, really awesome layout designed by Erik there for those. And then this, you want to could you get one clipboard?
Thinking I would do that anyway.
So again, we have 5 of these per player, and there's actually 8 different flights that you can choose from. So the whole table chooses the same one. And then once you're ready, you slip that in, and then there you've got your recipe tasting flight. And you can see there that it kind of lines up with the edge of the board that Erik's designed. And then, like we said before, you put your cube in when you've learned that specific one. So
I'm going to just call out Dan and say thank you.
I'm doing it so everyone can see it. That's right. I'm posting that one. So pretty exciting stuff there. And again, there's tons of them. We've got them color coded, so you choose as a group which one you want to do. Do you want to do a balanced one? Do you want to do just Asian Oceania? Do you want to do
all
just
American
aged?
spirits?
Yeah, all American spirits.
Yeah.
So you get to choose as a group. And we've put some recommendations for you there too.
America is not
Yeah, America's, yeah. So I also included a sleeved card in each of these just to show you and prove to you, yes, sleeve cards do fit. And you can see that there's more than enough room in the box for sleeve cards, which is exciting. So the solo cards are basically just, I'll keep it here. Solo cards are miniature cards that you only use in the solo game. This is designed by David Digby, award-winning solo game designer, awesome, talented guy over in the UK. Really fun solo mode to play. So that lays over on top of the main game. And then distillery goals as well that are also small that you'll play with a couple of these each game per player, having different private goals that you're going to try and solve. So that's that.
Do you remember when the graphics for the distillery goals looked like a PowerPoint presentation and it immediately didn't work?
Yes, I do. I totally remember that.
Good times.
That was good time. That was funny. I remember that. That was when at a certain point it was like, yeah, it's like a business plan. Yeah, PowerPoint.
Yep.
Nope.
And we're like, oh, that's actually a little depressing.
Yeah. So I won't go through all these because there's lots of identical ones, but these is the basic market. And it's meant to not necessarily be bland, but be a little bit more simple, right? In the presentation, which you'll see when you compare it to some of Erik's illustrations and cards from the premium side.
They're purposely beige.
Yeah. Tons of, and again, that's where there's lots of the same cards in this game. So you're going to get about 400 cards. So it's a lot, but it's also because it's kind of it evolved from a deck builder. There's a lot of different similarities there, or a lot of similarities there where you're going to see duplicate cards.
Yes, Stuart, it does have a win condition. Solo mode.
Does solo have a win condition?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. And then you want to talk about these?
Well, they're not 100% different. There's definitely more than one rye, for example. But rye, millet, corn. These are all of our grains. Barley, potatoes, rice, sorghum, wheat. I drew so much green.
Yeah, you were so much brown. Brown. Dave's favorite color is brown. And
Dave's, for a while, it seemed like Dave's favorite thing was to tell me, like, here's 4 more grains I think we're going to need for the game. And I think we cut a couple, but not too many. And it's like, at some point, I started to think, like, how is rye really different from wheat? You have to, I don't know.
You're right.
These are hashtag illustrator problems.
That's right. And then he took those same illustrations and then he put them on these signature cards as well. So what that is these are specific just for each distiller. You can see their little portrait in the bottom right. So you'll get these. These are kind of extra fancy ones,
right?
If you will.
Right. So it looks like the same grape, but it's really Sangiovese's grapes or whatever grapes.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so here's my favorite part that I want Erik to show us. Oh, did I pick
Sure.
up exactly?
I think you did. You magicked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are our distiller identities. So I'll just like bring Pilar del Fuego Escalante up. Machine focus. Yep. There we go. Yeah, I had fun with Pilar. I ended up changing her clothing at some point. So each of our distiller identities. Oh, Fang Jin, I definitely changed his clothing. Sakai Sotoro, Zhongji Na. So each of these distiller identities is unique. They tie themselves to a particular region of the world. Mother Mary Jennifer here is from England, which is part of Europe. You can see at the top there's an icon indicating region, and it's color coded as well, but also shape coded. And Etienne from France, and Gunhild from Sweden, and Nathan from Canada, and the Brown brothers from Australia. Australia is part of Oceania and Asia in this particular setup. We've got Anne McAdam from Ireland, named after my great-grandmother, sort of. Guillermo, I can't pronounce Guillermo's name.
Guillermo Osorio Romero.
Oh, yeah, from Peru. What is this
Yeah, you
one?
can read it.
I can't read them all. Juliana de la Cruz from the Philippines, Brother Vicente from Italy, Jacqueline Booker from America, from the USA, America, and Juana Perry de Souza from Brazil.
Yeah, so 16 different
I don't
ones.
think I butchered any of those pronunciations too badly, but I don't speak very many languages. So 16 different ones. They were each super fun to do. On the back, you see their portraits replicated, along with a bit of a biography about each one. It's a pretty short biography because it has to be. And then you get their the resources that they get and the signature sugars that they use and like quick recipe information. So a lot of information on these cards.
Yeah, a ton. So those are exciting. That's something that everyone really enjoys when they play with. Oh, I had one last one. And
Oh yeah,
of course.
of course, the
There it
pirate.
is. That's because I put him in again to show people. Yes, it fits.
It
in
fits.
sleeve. Let's see. Here's
Our
more.
Jamaican distiller.
Yeah. And real quick, we'll go through some of these quickly, but also Erik's flavor card. So different flavors. Blake wrote the text.
Mhm.
Erik illustrated the each one.
At one point I had 30 of these or 31 of these left, and I did an Inktober last October
right,
to finish
yeah.
them up. So I did one a day, which was a little bit of a falsitude. Falsehood. I did like 3 in one day, and then I
We
didn't
just
do one
released
for like
it.
2 days. And but that's just how I had to do it in October.
Yep.
Um,
And then more. Yeah. So here's some more. There's some of those fruits
Oh,
and
yeah.
those plants as well.
Yep.
Um,
More grains.
The awesome items. So these are cool because these are the different barrels and the different
Bottles.
fancy bottles, like the pig bottle.
Gin pig.
Right. Yeah. The gin pig. So different bottles you can put them in from around the world. And then last but not least, one of my favorite things is the distillery upgrades. Tons of different upgrades that are both, and they're all kind of building into your engine.
Yeah.
And they're all thematic. So metal rickhouses are things you find, especially in Kentucky, Tennessee, for aging spirits. Malt mill is something you'd see over in the UK, in Scotland. But then also some awesome characters that Erik designed as well.
Yeah, you can hire each of these people
the
to
specialists.
do work for you in your
Yep.
distillery. So you might have a scientist, or you might have a celebrity promoter and a co-op manager and things
Yep.
like that. And each give you different gameplay abilities, essentially.
Yeah.
Market buyer, trucker,
Yeah, the trucker is awesome.
personal fave of
Yeah,
ours.
Marge, yeah.
Marge,
So
the trucker.
this guy's fun too. The
Oh
private
yeah,
investor.
private investor.
Yeah.
So
So
mogul.
yeah. So again, lots of different stuff there. I think. Oh, and the last not least, let's see if we can do this without flipping it. So
Oh yeah,
we have those are all the play testers. So anyone that has play tested the game and filled out the survey, we were able to give you recognition on the side of the box, both solo and normal play testers. But then also Erik included, just when it's out on the table, it's kind of fun to have some additional illustrations as well on
Yeah.
each side of the box. In this case, I think they're
These
all
are
different
all
upgrades,
upgrade
right?
people.
Specialists.
So the glass blower and the co-op manager are
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So pretty awesome too. Yeah, you saw your. I see my name. Says David.
My name's in there too, man.
It's in there. Yep. So yeah, let's see if I can get really close. So actually, I do see David Cunningham's name. There it is, David. So exciting stuff there too. So that's essentially distilled. I'm gonna figure out how we can make ourselves bigger again.
Yeah.
That's essentially distilled as far as what you're going to be unpacking and experiencing for the first time when you get it. Again, you'll see a bunch of that stuff waiting for you at the bottom of the box, and it'll be you to kind of sort that out and especially put it in some of the trays and whatnot too. Will the neoprene mat fit in the box? I haven't tested it, to be honest, but I don't think so. We did not design it that way. I think it unfortunately is a little bit, I mean,
It's too big anyway.
if you really wanted to, it does fit.
Well, you know what
into
you
it.
can do is you can take the punch board sheets out, and then
Yeah.
you might be able to do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, good point. So if you
this
did,
one was beyond us, I would say that.
yeah, it actually does oddly fit if you really squeeze it. The problem is you're going to have to probably fold it, which you definitely don't want to do that. You're going to roll it. So that's probably unfortunately going to be one that's just going to have to sit on the shelf next to it. Just because that was one of those, Ryan. So Ryan's asking about that
Mhm.
because we had to design the game specifically more for what you would get in it, since the mat is going to be an extra that not a lot of people will get. All you backers will get it. And anyone that buys it at a convention will get it, but we're not going to have tons and tons of those too. So, and the good news with the mat is it really is just, I mean, it's awesome, but it's just visual. If you play on a table with a mat or as long as it's not hardwood, it's going to be fine. But you know how it is trying to pick up cards from a hardwood surface.
Yep.
So that's why we decided to do that as well. So, yep. Love me some neoprene, Tim. That's right. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I have one last bomb to drop to all y'all, because I think it's going to we're going to start it tomorrow. This is nothing for anyone that's back the game. You don't have to worry about it. Anyone that hasn't, you basically have 24 hours to pre-order the game at the current price, because as you probably saw, everything in this box, this is bigger than a normal game. This is the normal game. 400 cards, over 200 illustrations, game trays. We are actually going to be doing an MSRP of $89.99. So it is a lot more expensive, but this is meant to be a top shelf deluxe experience for you. So we are actually going to be raising that MSRP very, very soon. So if you have not pre-ordered it yet, I'd probably jump on tonight. Just search on our website, papersandgames.com, and you can find it, how to pre-order, and you'll get it for the $70 amount. And again, why this costs so much is shipping and freight is through the roof. It's not as bad as it used to be, luckily, but paper and other materials like wood is really bad too.
Wood-based anything is atrocious.
And then honestly, with game trays, and for sleevers, it doubled the height of the box, and the game trays cost a lot too. Mm-hmm. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I think we're going to see more and more games rising in price as well. So let's see. Allie says, for those of us that back the expansion, will it come in the main box or on its own box? Good question. It will come in its own box. It's a box that's probably about
ish.
Yeah. So it's kind of like not a beast expansion. It's kind of like a medium expansion, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So it'll come separate, delivered to you with everything else, as well the Kickstarter expansions. The mini expansion for Kickstarter is 14 cards and one little punch board for the labels. That will also come separate.
Does that have a box?
It doesn't have a box. It comes in the sleeve, like a plastic sleeve.
Yeah.
But all that stuff will fit into the base game box. So if you're interested in breaking it all down, but I will say Erik's artwork on the front of the Africa Middle East box is pretty awesome too. So it can go kind of right next to the game too if you have room on your shelf. So yeah, that's it. Anything else, sir?
No. Every time I see all of Distilled laid out in front of me in physical form, it kind of boggles my mind how much there is. So, I mean, the MSRP is kind of high, but you are correct. This is like a high-end experience with a lot of stuff.
This is a monster.
It's a lot, and yeah. So everyone who's on board, I guess, like gets high-end experience.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part is, I mean, I know some people don't like to hear this, but if you're a Kickstarter backer, you're getting one hell of a deal. Let me tell you that. Because remember, you backed it for basically the equivalent to $55. But because of all the unlocks and the success that happened, that's why we were able to add all this stuff.
Yep.
So again, I see it as a win-win. It's an awesome thing. It's how the game has evolved, but it's also helped the company, Papers and Games, evolve as well to understand we want to create these kinds of exquisite luxury experiences for people, so that it's a game that you sit around the table and really enjoy together as a group, and not just something that could tear or throw away easily and that type of thing too. So
high-end and refined. That's
right. Slanjava. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. You all have an excellent night tonight, and keep going comments. This will be on, and please comment when you start getting this in the mail. Hopefully January, February, you can start posting some of those unboxing videos and pictures as well. Have a good night, everybody. See you later.